Hello everyone. My name is Alison Kitson. I'm speaking from South Australia, from Flinders University. I would like to start off by acknowledging the Kaurna people, the traditional owners of the land upon which Flinders University is situated here in South Australia, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's my great delight to say hello to my dear colleagues in Italy and to present to your Sigma chapter Alpha, Alpha, Beta. I just wish I was able to enjoy your warm hospitality, but as you know, I'm very, very keen to continue the contacts that we have forged over the years. My role at Flinders University is Vice President and Executive Dean, and also Foundation Director of the Caring Futures Institute. And some of you also know that I've been involved in the International Learning Collaborative for many years. Now, something about the Caring Futures Institute. It was set up in 2019, in fact the last time I was in Italy, and it's an institute that is dedicated to the study of self-care and caring solutions across a number of systems: better lives, better care, better communities and better systems, and embedded by a knowledge translation underpinning. As I said, in 2019 I had the great pleasure to come and spend some time with you, and you can see colleagues in the top picture. Also was really impressed by the huge amount of work that you have been undertaking in Genoa around the fundamentals of care, and I can still remember the beautiful setting. I think it was a convent or a monastery, not sure which, just on the hilltop outside Genoa. I really look forward to coming back and seeing you. Of course, it's been a long time because our lives were taken over by COVID. So we are post-pandemic, post-COVID, a lot of thinking and learning, and perhaps most importantly, we have learnt about the importance of getting fundamental care right. So in my presentation today, I'm just going to remind colleagues of some of the work that we've been doing around re-establishing care and fundamental care, essential care, into our systems and processes in health delivery right across the world, because we realize that getting it right is not just one country's responsibility, it's for all of us. Now, fundamental care, or conversations in fundamental care, need to be put into the context of our incredibly rich nursing theory history. And so it's very clear for those of you who are as old as me and were brought up on Virginia Henderson's 14 components of nursing care, you will know that fundamental care, essential care, is recognized in a number of different guises. And equally, the work of Hildegard Peplau in the 50s and 60s very much established the essential and most important element of the nurse-patient relationship. These are the antecedents, or the precursors to the work that the International Learning Collaborative, together with a team of researchers from Australia, led by myself, really tried to reinvigorate or refocus our health system's interest into getting fundamental care right. So you can see that the dimensions of the framework are very much picking up Peplau's the importance of the relationship, Henderson's the importance of physical and psychosocial care and the importance of integrating that, and then more recent theories around the importance of the context. Again, Rebecca Fio and colleagues undertook a Delphi survey in 20 2017, 2016, looking at how we got consensus or agreement on these different elements of the fundamentals of care framework. Equally, the Caring Futures Institute has been very much influenced by Dorothea Orum's work around self-care and universal self-care needs. And I thought this reference was interesting from Dorothea herself, where she actually, again, began to think about the fact of the interrelationship between health and self-care, and obviously if your health needs change, then that will have an impact on your ability to self-care. And then the final giant in nursing theory is Afaf Melis, whose transitions theory is very much influenced the work that we have done at the Caring Futures Institute around developing a caring life course theory for better self-care and caring solutions. And in that paper, we more or less talked about the range of life course assumptions that could influence and shape the way that a person learns how to care for themselves, learns how to care for other people, and learns how to engage constructively with health and care systems. And we argued that basically every one of us is on a constant continuum between what we can do for ourselves and what we need help with, whether that's family member, whether it's a carer, whether it's an unpaid carer, or whether it's a professional. So these are some of the developments that we're undertaking and leading here at Flinders University and the Caring Futures Institute. Now, what I want to just quickly share with you are three pieces of work that we have done, challenged by COVID, of course, but actually trying to see how you can implement or get fundamental care working in practice. So I'm going to start with a story that wasn't so successful, but like many things, when things don't go well, you probably learn more about it than when it does go well. So this is looking at oral hygiene, how to provide good oral hygiene for older people in a specialist geriatric medical ward. And the team that you see behind me is a multidisciplinary team. Joe Murray is the speech pathologist, Sarah Hunter is the knowledge translation researcher, and they are standing beside two nursing leaders. So this was part of a program of work called Reduce, which was translating knowledge for fundamental care. I'll talk about the Eat, Walk, Engage program in a few minutes, but I will start with the story of how we tried to improve oral health care. We used the IPARIS framework. Some of you will be familiar with that, where we argue that successful implementation of evidence or a new idea is related to how it's facilitated, the type of innovation, whether people think that it's important, the people who are receiving it or need to change what they do, and the context. Now, the context that we were introducing this new innovation was a geriatric assessment unit. At organisational level, it was in the Southern Adelaide Local Health Network, and it was part of the rehabilitation unit. But of course, as the program went on, we were locked down and it was very hard to actually get the research running. So some of the results may be a factor of the challenges that many of us around the world have faced. So the implementation process, I know this is a very busy slide, but I'll just sort of move down the dark side. So these were the steps or the implementation actions or the new knowledge that we were putting in. So the first step was raising oral health care awareness. Second was to provide clinical guidelines. Third was to build the workforce oral health capacity. Then it was trying to change practice to improve access to oral health care products, to provide the actual support, to get the team together and to get then that change embedded in the system. So you can see that something as simple as encouraging 20 patients in a medical ward to have routine oral hygiene isn't such a straightforward thing. It requires several steps or several processes, both at the local level and at the organizational level. And you can see that different people would have had different responsibilities at the ward level and at the organizational level. So what did we find in terms of the 18-month it took from the beginning to the end, acknowledging that COVID prolonged many of the aspects of this particular work? Well, we find that definitely when we spoke to patients and to nursing staff and other members of the multidisciplinary team, that everyone knew more about the importance of oral health care and why it was important. But when we looked at whether between the start of the project and the end were more assessments being undertaken in terms of making sure that patients had the right equipment and had assessed their oral hygiene, there was no improvement. There was some improvement in planning, a bit strange if there was no assessment, and some improvement in delivery, but not significantly. No improvement in the way that the team worked together, and some improvement in the support, the aids that were provided in the ward. So when we talked to patients, these were some of the barriers that they found in terms of just being able to improve their oral hygiene. You can see that it was related to where they were situated, feeling sick, change of habits, unfamiliar environment, aspects that none of us would be surprised at, but actually things that we need to think about and manage as leaders in fundamental care. Again, the things that helped them undertake better oral hygiene was being located closer to the bathroom, having the right equipment, and being reminded. When we talked to staff, they talked about time, staffing, of course, not really assessing patient capability, or that there was the equipment problems, and again identified a list of things that could help them to improve their delivery. So the take-home messages were that we have raised awareness, so this team of academics, knowledge translation experts and clinicians worked together under challenging circumstances, but it was only one very small step because we did not create the change in routine or habit. And so the recommendations going forward in this small quality improvement cycle would make sure that there is some structure within the team, make sure that people are alerted and aware of the need for oral health, and that there is dedicated facilitation. So we know that doing something really small, like making sure that everybody gets their mouth cleaned, is a big challenge. And when I was sharing this with a colleague, an ex-nurse, she looked at me incredulously and she said, "Alison, why do you have to make it so complicated? Just tell people that they have to get their mouths cleaned. So, okay, if that works, let's see if that is the straightforward way of embedding fundamental care. I'm not quite so sure, because the other project that I'm going to talk about, it was more successful, but it actually has taken a team of people many years to begin to change the culture and attitudes. And again, would like to acknowledge top above me is Alison Mudge, and some of you will have heard Alison speak at the International Learning Collaborative. Across the way is Prue McRae, geriatrician, physiotherapist, nurses, psychologists, KT leaders. So what we found in terms of trying to change a problem in our Australian hospitals is that the incidence of hospital-acquired or hospital-associated delirium has rocketed. You can see that there were 18,000 cases identified in a 12-month cycle. So that means that we know from evidence that you can actually reduce the incidence of delirium by addressing a number of fundamental care needs of the patient. Most importantly, eating the right sort of food, nutrition, hydration, keeping patients mobilized and socially active. So the Eat, Walk, Engaged team was really about trying to implement this bundle of fundamental care activities to a group of vulnerable older people. Many of you would be familiar with this as the sort of environment that nurses and patients live in or are cared for, and often it is not conducive to eating well, to moving around, and to being socially active. So what Alison and Prue did in terms of trialling this, they set up a randomized controlled trial across 4 sites, and they showed that by implementing this, well, I never call it simple, but by implementing a deliberate system of improving food and nutrition, of increasing mobilization, and in increasing social engagement, they were able to demonstrate a significant reduction in delirium. That project is now being scaled up across 40 wards across Queensland and the one ward that we used in South Australia. So we engaged the team very much. It had to be a whole team and multidisciplinary approach to trying to shift these 3 routines. We had times to engage people, to reflect and act and talk about how we were going to improve the activity. And what was also really important was over the period of the randomized controlled trial, we were able, or Alison was able to demonstrate improvements in timely assistance at meal times, and also improvements in the proportion of older people sitting out at meal times and being dressed to do that. So you can see that that really translates to, in baseline it was 1 person, and then 2 years later we had 100 people sitting out. Now just think of the intensive additional activity and engagement that those sorts of activities would lead us to. And equally, just engaging people, music therapy, talking about home life, these were things that were relatively straightforward to do, but yet mindfully needed to be done. My final example is really trying to build on the story so far. The fact that it takes a long time to change routines. It takes the need to systematically provide evidence of effect, as Alison Mudge did with her Eat, Walk, Engage activity. And so in working with a whole health system, which is the Southern Adelaide Local Health Network, what we're trying to do is really embed the fundamentals of care framework as part of the nursing practice improvement work. So rather than hit people with the framework, we started to engage nurses right across the system to talk about celebrating when care goes well. And then we analysed the narratives related to the fundamentals of care framework. And what we found was that, again, reinforcing the importance and centrality of the relationship, the centrality of getting integrated fundamental care right, but also making sure that the contextual factors like good teamwork, good leadership, the right sort of skills and advocacy were there across the system. So the results of that work means that now the professional practice model for all 5,000 nurses across Southern Adelaide Local Health Network are embedded, are using the fundamentals of care framework, which means that as we develop and grow and develop our desire to get more evidence to shape the nursing interventions we do, we will be able to build on the fundamentals of care framework. And I think the great role model for us here in South Australia is our colleagues in Toronto at Sinai Hospital, where they have embedded fundamentals of care into their academic practice strategy, where they are relating it to the other three pillars of engagement, of new knowledge, and of quality and safety. So what we're really seeing is the integration of activities where fundamentals of care are really deeply embedded into the DNA of the system. Now, if any of this is exciting you or you want to learn more, well then certainly we want you to join the International Learning Collaborative, because you will then be part of a network, a global network of people who are passionate about getting care back into healthcare. And again, I would just like to point out that we're just about to produce our special issue on leadership for fundamental care. We have a statement coming out of our 2022 ILC program, and next year, hopefully, we'll see you in Portland, Maine. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful meeting, and I look forward to seeing you as soon as possible. Bye-bye.